Today's episode, a Kirby comic store, we're going to look at our variant covers. Now, variant covers are the best sellers. They're really hot as far as collectability. The great thing about variants is, yeah, they have a different cover on them and they sell for much more, but you can read them just like a regular book. The inside of the book is the exact same as a regular comic. But like I said, this is what the majority of people want when they're buying a new book is a variant cover. This one is a Peach Mamoka. Thor, she still does probably more covers than anyone else at Marvel, and definitely #1 seller whenever she does a cover. Mark Brooks, another great variant cover artist, mostly variant cover artist. Mostly his books always sell, no matter what character he does. Moon Knight, really hot character right now. I've always loved Moon Knight. I read, then started with the late of the 1980s version, the tail end of that, but then a later version that focused on more of an Egyptian motif, a Khonshu motif, instead of his personalities, which was what the first one was based on. But he's a great character, so I'm looking forward to seeing more Moon Knight, as he can be anything. He has different personalities, and it's the range of what he can be is unending if they really take it to where it should be. So these variants, Moon Knight variants, always sell out. We never have many left. We still have some #1s. Like this Romita Jr., John Romita Jr., I love that. I love his style, John Romita Jr. Of course I love his father, Sr., but John Romita Jr. to me is more a Kirby style. It's dynamic, it's coming at you, whereas his father is more of a romance comic. That's where Stan Lee found him at and brought him in when Ditko walked out on Spider-Man. And in my opinion, what really gave Spider-Man its popularity. It's that stylized romance comics look. More women for Peter. He suddenly went from bullied nerd by Flash Thompson to suddenly he had Gwen and MJ and everybody going after him. So I think that's kind of where Spider-Man turned the corner. But needless to say, I love Romita Jr. For his style. Like I said, basically an homage to Kirby. So I love that. Kang, this is a great book. I think my second favorite book right now. It's going to be a 5-issue series, and it is such a great story. It's not just time travel, but it's more of Kang's personality. It's character. It's a character study, and I think that's missing in a lot of comics. Is that, especially Marvel, they're focusing just on those characters, but they're not spending enough time on their personalities. They're just going by the movie. The movies are making the comics instead of the other way around. And I think that's a mistake. But these are not like that. These are excellent books. Great covers, great variant covers, even the regular books. Carnage, Deadpool, always selling. The Gleason covers, the Gleason variants, whether it's Spider-Man or Carnage, they always sell. The Venom. Patrick Gleason, he's now in charge of the art director of Spider-Man, which is weekly, which I don't like. I don't believe a comic should be weekly unless they're selling a lot of copies. And right now, Spider-Man is not. It's not the McFarlane era. It's not even the Claus Janson era. So I don't think we need weekly. But what do I know? But Gleason, great artist. I wish he did covers like this every month. They would definitely sell a lot better. Then we have Thing #1. This is again a great series, great first start. We meet a new villain in this. This is actually back in time. This doesn't take place in the present day, where Thing is married to Alicia and has the Skrull and Kree kids that they adopted. Instead, this takes place probably around the John Byrne era. It's the first time that Alicia and Ben break up, and we meet a new love for Ben, and we meet a new villain. Like I said, it's a good story. It's a good start. And again, it's a 5-issue series, and I like that. I think that's the future, is short little miniseries. People just don't have the attention span for long ongoing series anymore. And when they come in, if they see a series is past issue 10, they will not pick it up unless they can get number 1. So maybe this is the way we should have all future comic series. We'll go to Echolands. This is an Image book that doesn't get enough love. A lot of people, I don't know if they don't like the landscape design of it, which means that it has to be read on this side angle. That throws people off. I love it. I love, because I've read for 40 years now, I like things that are different. I read comics backwards sometimes, just to be different. I don't like things that are the same. I like comics that are different. So this is definitely different, and it's basically, to me, a fantasy adult Red Riding Hood. But J.H. Williams, his artwork, is just amazing. I mean, if you buy this just for the artwork and the paper quality, glossy paper quality, you don't get any better. So there's variant covers of these, and there's also what's called a raw cut. I like the raw cuts because he shows the artwork as it's being done. It's the unfinished artwork. So they're not second prints. They're a totally different book. It's kind of like a making of. And I love these. And these are going under the radar right now. People need to be reading these. They're excellent. Not just for the covers and the artworks. This is the NYX tribute, homage to Ninja Turtles #1, 1984. And these are hot. These are across Dynamite's line. I believe there's 7 or 8 of them total. And Dynamite is known for its variant covers. Like, Dynamite does more variant covers than any other company of just one issue. It can be a bit much, but in this case, no. These sell. I can sell a lot. I can sell way more of these than most Marvels, because it's a good gimmick. Any homage is a good gimmick. That people can recognize. Any McFarlane cover that sells as an homage. Ninja Turtles #1, which is interesting because Ninja Turtles was an homage to Frank Miller's Ronin. So this is an homage of an homage. A lot of people didn't know that. Army of Darkness, 1979, gets in on the act, and this is issue 3. This is a great series of itself, and always sells. The variants can be graphic, like Ash using the chainsaw. So that's going to sell. Ash using a chainsaw is going to sell. More so than just a Thanos cover. That's what Peach Mamoka, again, doing this Eternal, doing this Thanos. People will buy this just for the Peach Mamoka Thanos without, some people don't read, and that's fine. I didn't have time, when I was working long shifts. I just bought and I wanted to read, but didn't have time. I understand. But that's what the great thing about variant covers. You can just buy them for the artwork. They're basically little prints, and you see that I bag and board them, so you're going to get the highest quality when you want to grade them. I don't recommend grading right now, as it takes too long and it's very expensive. But that's to each his own. We're going to move along. We're going to go to these are what's called ratio variants, which means I had to buy 25 of the Something Killing the Children issues to get this one. That's a bit much, but that's on the low end. They start at 1 in 25s, then it's 1 in 50, then it's 1 in 75 or 100. Sometimes there's even 1 in 1,000s. That's a bit ridiculous, but for instance, Berserker #1, which still goes for a lot of money, the 1 in 1,000 of that was signed by Keanu Reeves. And when it first came out, it went for thousands. So, a lot of stores opted to buy 1,000 of those issues just to get that ratio. So it's an incentive. They're called incentive covers, ratio covers, and at times they work and at times they don't. So it's a gamble, which all of comics is. It's a big gamble, but it's fun, if you make it fun. I really love this book, This Hungry Earth, The Rush. It's by Vault Comics, Cy Spurrier. It's Gold Rush. again mixed with a bit of H.P. Lovecraft, very dark. Again, a Revenant, that type of era, 1800s, Gold Rush. So perfect for monsters, perfect for horror, because it was, there was horror already, in real life, in those minds, and that lifestyle was horror. But this is an excellent book. Again, ratio cover, I believe either a 1 in 5 or 1 in 10. Then we have this House of Slaughter. This is a Jay Lee, great variant cover artist. Mostly variant covers he does. I've seen him do a couple interiors in his earlier days, but mostly variant covers. That's what sells. And it takes longer, obviously, to do a cover than the interiors. So, he's going to make more money on variant covers. But this is, I believe, a 1 in 10 of second printing. So I had to buy 10 second print number ones to get this 1 in 10. So, again, you're taking a gamble. This, whether it's a variant, again, it's a different version, it's a different cover of the Last Ronin. It's actually called the Design Archive Edition. So it's got different artwork in it, more of a concept art of Eastman's artwork, doing the first 3 issues, or 2 and 3, I believe. So it's great if you want to see the design work. So this is a whole different book, in my opinion, a variant. So definitely something to look for. This is a great book by Aftershock, The Heathens. This is Cullen Bond. This is basically characters in history in limbo, stuck in limbo. They're dead, but they're being Stalin, or spirit of Stalin, is guiding them to, if they want to leave limbo, they have to go after a Jack the Ripper entity that is turned into like an army of Jack the Rippers in modern day America. So this is an excellent book so far. This is the 1 in 15 variant, and we did get this 3 weeks late, but it's such a great cover. It's the same artist, Mutai, I believe. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, but great artist from Bunny Mask. So I love that style. It's like watercolor. If I may be wrong, but I love that style. It's a beautiful cover. So I recommend people who like historical fiction, more historical characters, Old West, pirates. These are like Billy the Kid, like I said, Jack the Ripper, and that's a trope that's being used a lot. So it's different than another post-apocalyptic story, which, if done right, works. This is another interesting Aftershock comic, My Date with Monsters. This is actually the writer of Bunny Mask, which we'll look at later. Paul Tobin. This is a great story, and again, this is, it could be considered horror. This reminds me a lot of like Neil Gaiman's Sandman, and because it's a weaponized dream realm. The governments, Japanese, along with American governments together, trying to weaponize dreams and nightmares. So definitely something Gaiman, was touching on with Sandman, dreams, dream realm, and how dangerous it can be, But anyway, this is a really good book, and this is the ratio variant of that. This is, again, a 1 in 15 ratio variant. So I had to buy 15 regular copies to get this one. So the artwork is totally different than the regular cover, but interiors the same and reads the same, which is great in my opinion. So I recommend picking that up. If you notice, we have a lot more independents than Marvel, because right now that's what's selling. Independents are outselling Marvel by a ratio of 75% to 25%. That's here. I'm sure it's different elsewhere. Right now, Marvel's down, and we are selling much more independent work, which I can get behind, because more of an adult focused audience. I don't think Marvel has a very good direction right now. They need somebody like a Jim Shooter who can kind of rein them in and give them some kind of structure, and they can stop being written for different demographics. They should focus on storytelling. That is what they need to focus on. Tighter stories, less titles. maybe 20 titles a month instead of 100. Maybe we wouldn't have we wouldn't be so concerned about a paper shortage if there wasn't 100 titles with 13 different variants for each, even though we're looking at variants today. I digress. We go then to House of Slaughter. Like we looked at House of Slaughter, the ratio variant. This is the second printing variant. And again, this was an excellent book. Tinian wrote this. This is going to be while Something Killing the Children is off or on hiatus. This book takes a place, and it's more history of the House of Slaughter, where Erica grew up, learned how to hunt the monsters, which we have. This was the last issue before they went on hiatus of the Something Killing the Children variant. That's the B cover, and before I believe we looked at the 1 in 25 of the same issue. So I had to get 25 of these or the A cover to get that 1 in 25 variant. And you notice totally different art. So you could have somebody come in that wants each cover. That's not out of the ordinary. And for a book, like say Venom #1 or the last issue of Venom, people wanted a set with every cover. That sells. So we specialize in that, in selling sets of variants. And online as well, we have some older sets of variants that have free shipping. Go to KirbyComicStore.com to look at some of our sets for sale right now with free shipping. Then we have, we'll look at some more horror. He Who Fights with Monsters. Again, Jay Lee, another great cover who we looked at before. This is basically World War II, the Golem fighting Nazis. The Golem was a Jewish character in mythology who protected the Jewish people, so perfect for fighting Nazis. I believe in Hellboy they used a Golem character a lot, and it's perfect. It's a perfect character. Marvel even used Golem, I believe, right before Brother Voodoo and Strange Tales. So Golem has been in the comics, before, and this is a much more adult, much more graphic, more realistic version. It's a Blaze Comics, who I really like. They're doing. We'll look at the Sumerian, the Coney in a little bit, but I love this issue. This is an homage to a Fantastic Four by John Byrne issue, where he is on trial for not killing Galactus when he could have. So that's a cool, homage. Again, homage cover. They will sell, especially the more popular ones. Hellcop, that was a great first issue. This is probably, I think, the last variant we have left. We sold all the variants. There's a couple A covers left. Highly recommend it. I love this artwork. Brian and Haviland, really good artwork. I don't want to say airbrush, but definitely highly detailed digital art, I believe. Highly detailed. Looks like a photograph almost. So something very different, from Bunny Mask, which we will look at next. I love this Bunny Mask. And this is issue 1, along with the variant. This was by Aftershock, and it was, in my opinion, one of the best, not just horror books, but just best comics, within the past year. I really liked this series. And everybody I recommended it to, I think out of the 20 people, maybe 1 or 2 didn't like it. Because it's not, there's a lot of slasher horror today, which I'm not a slasher type of horror. I'm more psychological, or Stephen King. If you like Stephen King, you will love this. That's what this is. It's an ancient horror brought into modern times, and yes, graphic at times, but not overly graphic. But definitely for adults. Again, seeing the variant cover like that is a plus. Then you will have, there's a couple Marvels, like these Joe Juskos I love. These are the Masterworks, the Joe Jusko Marvel Masterpieces, which he did Marvel cards in the 90s called Marvel Masterpieces. Fleer put them out right before the demise of that company and the crash of Marvel. That was one of the times they went bankrupt. But anyway, Joe Jusko, great painter. I love anything painted. He's a great painter. The Hildebrandt brothers, very similar. But yeah, he does only covers. I don't think I've ever seen his interiors. He may have done it like a creepy and an eerie back in the day, but I remember him from, you know, these covers. Like another Peach Mamoka Excalibur, and then a Peach Mamoka Inferno. And you got Jubilee. You got Emma Frost. You know, those are great, great variant covers. And it's not just the characters. It's Emma making diamonds. You know, you can see the diamonds floating, and it's Jubilee. You know, not just posing, but like she's making the lights and the electric and little bubbles of energy. I love that, and that's why Peach Mamoka is one of the best, not just Marvel artists, but she's one of the best artists today. And the Demon Days that she's doing is selling out every time. Like no matter how many order Demon Days, they sell out. So there's a couple left, and we're going to look at them. This is Demon Days, Mariko. She's doing, again, one-shots, which I like. You know, like I said, they sell better. She started off the X-Men, then did Mariko, I believe. There's 3 of them total. X-Men, Mariko, and Cursed Web. So there's 3 of them. And then Peach does the interiors of these, which is that she never did interiors for Marvel. So this was a big deal, and it still is. Like I said, it's still a hot seller. Mark Brooks did the variant on that. I believe Jenny Freeson did that one. Jenny Freeson does amazing covers. She's one of the best. Art Germ, I believe, did this one. That's a great cover. Like I said, Demon Days, hot seller. We're getting boxes of the next Demon Days with Peach's artwork all over it. That'll be a really big seller. So Heavy Metal Magazine, been going on since 1977, highly influential. Still a number of people getting it. You can still find it in a lot of weird places like gas stations. So why a gas station would carry heavy metal and not a comic book is strange. But it's great that it's still ongoing. Like I said, I've been reading since I was a kid. And the first place I saw Mobius and Corbin and so many artists that you just didn't see in the comic books. More adult artists, more foreign European artists. You know, Bisley, you know, that's where I first saw a lot of artists, and it definitely opened my eyes and my mind to things more than just Marvel, DC when I was a kid, because we didn't have this variety that we do now. Right now, I try to tell people, even though the numbers are the lowest in comics history, there's never been more variety. There's a comic book for everybody. There's a comic book for wine drinkers. There's a comic book for anybody, you know, anybody that coming off the street, I could find them a comic book. When I was a kid, they didn't have that. There was just 2 superhero companies and a couple indies. We're going to move on to the heavy metal comic books. These are put out by Heavy Metal, but in comic book form. Ramiro does this. This is excellent. Cold Dead War, kind of like the zombie from the Heavy Metal movie. If you've seen the Heavy Metal movie from the early 80s, Ivan Reitman, I believe. You know, very iconic. That's what the concept is. Post-World War II zombie. So that's a good, this is actually second printing variant cover. So totally different cover, variant. Electric Black, good, really good. Scout Comics, indie book. Word is we're going to get a show on that of some kind. That'll be interesting. Another heavy metal, Never Never. This is dark. This is very dark. This is like a Peter Pan, Wendy for Peter Pan, but it's extremely, the Lost Boys are like cannibals, and it has some fans, but it's too dark for my taste. But great artwork, and you know the concept works again. You know, it's the whole Neil Gaiman concept of taking an old mythological or fairy tale, or or Alan Moore, even League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, is updating it and making it an adult. So sometimes less is more. Then we're going to move on to one of my favorites right now, Captain Harlock. This was one of the first mangas, animes that I remember seeing as a kid. Between this and Starbladers, which are both very familiar, or very similar. I couldn't tell you which one came first, but they're both very similar in style. The main characters have the same hairstyle. They're very similar, but both are great. And we carry the manga of both titles. But this Captain Harlock is actually by the original, it's based on the original work of the original creator, who helps, I guess, write. But the artwork, I believe, is a French artist. So, you know, we get a different mixture of styles. It looks like manga, but it's not really manga, and I like that. It's a hybrid. It's a fusion. And that's what we need. We need more fusion artwork in comic books. Not just straight American manga style like we're seeing in some Marvels, where it's you know, there's not much detail, it's just kind of thrown together. But this is excellent, you know, highly detailed work that, you know, is I would like to see more of in all mainstream comics. But the story is great too, this Captain Harlock. This Veronica by one of my heroes, Glenn Danzig. This was a big seller. It came out right around Halloween, the week of Halloween, perfectly timed. You know, everybody loves a good, you know, horror comic. Glenn Danzig is always very explicit in his comics, but that's what sells. He always uses Bisley. Bisley is like his favorite artist, Simon Bisley. Always does most of the art. A bit of trivia, Danzig is not just a huge comic book fan and a big nerd, collects toys, Japanese toys, old comics, but he also tried out for Marvel. He was a big fan of Submariner, and he actually had, you know, tried to do the artwork for Submariner in the, I believe, early 70s or late 60s, before the Misfits. He went to art school. So I would love to see the original art if it's still out there somewhere. I'm sure he's hiding it in the closet, maybe with Henry. Which we will get the Glenn and Henry comics very soon. They're hard to get. They are good, but that's something else entirely. Watchdog Legion, variant cover, good start. Again, post-apocalyptic. You know, so if you're tired of that trope, then, you know, you should not try that. Maw story doesn't really get me. Great artwork. I love this one. This one's a variant and supposed to be an homage to the old Italian zombie movies, horror movies. They were very graphic, but I love that painted look. That's a beautiful. Again, most people buying the variants for the covers. You're not really reading them, so it doesn't matter, you know, if it's a good book or not. It has an excellent cover that sells. The Boys, that has a fan following, but not as big as one would think. I think that's, you know, whenever something like that gets its own show, that usually for some reason kills off the interest in the comic. I don't know why. The next book that we're going to talk about is a good example of that. This is the Walking Dead Deluxe edition, which, you know, props to Robert Kirkman. He really started not just something that redefined a genre in zombie, because again, it wasn't really about zombies. It was about the survivors. And I think that's what gave it its popularity, not just the zombies in it. You know, everybody can do a zombie comic. Robert Kirkman gave it humanity and showed humans at their worst and what they'll do to survive. And I think that's what gave it, you know, its love for so many years. And what's sad is he wasn't really done with the story. He had to he wanted to go 300 issues, but everybody, you know, the numbers went down with every issue because everybody stopped reading the comic and they started watching just, you know, the TV show. And I personally asked people when they came in to get the last issue, and I told them there was none. I said, nobody's buying the comic, nobody gets the last issue. And I would ask them why they quit reading, because they watched the TV show instead. I tell people this all the time, support what you love, or it will go away. And that's all comics. If you don't support your comic, it will go away. It can go away completely as an art form, and especially if we go to digital, which is where Marvel and DC think it's going to go. Surprise. It will be destroyed if you try to do digital, because everyone will just steal it. We need physical comics, always. I'm an advocate for physical comics. Walking Dead Deluxe, all new covers, again, variant covers. This is a great Al Ewing. We only find them when they're dead. This is called the Dead Gods variant. It's a good series. I don't know where it's going, and it's losing readers, so I don't know that it's going to last much longer, but we've gotten some great stories, great artwork. That's been really good. The Goon, excellent series. Eric Powell, issue 1. That's a great series with Alex Ross, painted cover, I believe issue 1. Beautiful cover. Carmen. That's another beautifully painted a book. Reminds me of Death from Sandman, but more graphic. Those are great books. I love this by Ablaze, a Sumerian, and I love these, again, homage covers to, this one is supposed to be the Hulk, Intelligent Hulk issue homage, and then this one's supposed to be the Walter Simonson Beta Ray Bill Thor. So you see the Sumerian there, which the Sumerian, if you don't know, is Conan. But they can't use Conan's name because they don't have the rights. Marvel actually pays the Robert Howard estate for the rights. But Blaze gets away with not paying for any rights because, I believe, because they're based in France, the artwork is done in France, sold in France. For some reason, the trademark copyright, they don't have to, they get away with it. But we benefit because these are more adult Conans. These are the Conans that we don't know, but we like to think that Howard would appreciate. His pulps were very dark. That's what they were. They were for adults, and they were dark. A lot of them, if they were reprinted, when they're reprinted today, people would not accept them because they were of their era, just like H.P. Lovecraft. That was the era where things were a lot different in the 20s and 30s than they are now. But this is a good concept of that Conan, the pulp era Conan in an R-rated environment. Unlike Marvel, it's not restrained; it's unrestrained, and that's what Conan should be in my mind. I'm a big Conan fan, and that's what Marvel used to do in the 70s and 80s with Savage Sword of Conan, which was a black and white adult magazine. It was R-rated. It was no holds barred. So I really love the Sumerian, which we always have a lot in stock, and outsells Marvel's by a 20-1 margin. Ninjas and Robots is a series that I try to get people on. Eric Claus, I love his artwork. Reminds me of Kevin Eastman, which was inspired by Kirby. Kirby style, again, that Ramita style. It's a very rough. It's a rough style. It's not looking for detailed like a Neil Adams or a George Perez. This is like I said, Ninja Turtle Eastman style. I love this. I try to get people started on this, and even from an investment point, I try to tell them they have the numbers on the back of each variant cover. They're in the hundreds. That's a good bet for a book if you're going to invest in it. If there's a print run of only a couple hundred, I would invest in it. It has great artwork like this and great story inside. Of a ninja clan that occasionally doesn't have clothes on and fights robots. That's a pretty cool title. It's a fun book. And again, I try to get people involved in it, but for whatever reason, it's hard. More Peach Mamoka. This time, Blade Runner. Blade Runner, has survived how many decades? I saw the original Harrison Ford, based on the, I believe, Harlan Ellison book, Electric Sheep. A great book. I may be wrong about the Ellison. Anyway, Blade Runner, two different comics going on, the 2029 and the Origins going on, but you could pick up anywhere. Again, people buying them just for the peach covers. They're probably not reading them. They're just buying for these great Virgin FOC covers. FOC, to a lot of people haven't heard, FOC means it's the last chance we get to purchase a cover. We don't get to see it until FOC, which is last minute. That means it's really limited, and chances are, again, a good investment. Because most of these people are buying because they think they're going to be good investments, and not just good artwork, like I said, just as prints. But comics can be anything. I like this Eros Psyche. This is a great title. This is another Ablaze, an R-rated Ablaze. I love they do these homage covers. We sold out of the Harry Potter homage. I knew we would. This is an awesome Breakfast Club, and that's supposed to be Madame Xandu from DC from the 80s, maybe late 70s. But these sell really well. Again, the covers. Cherry Blackbird, that's a Black Caravan. Shlameki, he's a good, underground indie creator. I love that stuff. It's Unrestrained. Barbarian, you talk about Unrestrained. Barbaric is done. It is basically Conan, but with a twist. It's like an axe that it has a lust to kill. It needs blood. So it's a living axe, and I believe it was in mythology, Norse mythology, the sword would fight on its own, and needed that blood. So it's kind of like that. It speaks to this Conan type hero protagonist, but this is really, again, R-rated, but some dark comedy thrown in. And again, I love this homage to Conan #1 from 1970, which Roy Thomas started off the Bronze Age with. It's considered the first issue of the Bronze Age, so that's a highly iconic cover. Then you have this. These are new covers, and it's become a trend. These are black bags sealed, and what they are is adult covers, and we don't get to see them unless you open them. You cannot shake them, find them. The black bag you cannot see inside, and they are highly collectible because we don't know exactly what's in them. They could be mixed. They could be a different cover. I've had people get a different cover than they thought they were going to get. So it's interesting because you're taking a chance, but it's going to be a cool cover. It's going to be adult, and some really good artists like Tim Seeley do them. So not just like any artist. Some really great veteran artists. Vampirella, always big. She just ended her series at 25. Mary Dracula. So the series, again, Dynamite making 1 million variant covers. That's why people are buying it, for the variant covers, which is what we're talking about. This is an homage to the first ever Vampirella issue 1, which I never could find. I looked for years. I would not, when I was a collector, I would not buy online. I only supported local stores. That's very important. Local stores are struggling and always have been. Unless it was pre-90s, comic stores are struggling, and they're doing it because they love it, which is why I do it. Elric, again, we talked about Elric on a previous episode when we were talking about horror, trade paperbacks. These are the Titan Comics, which is from England. These are the comics that become the hardcovers that we talked about last time. There's tons of variants. Again, FOC, these are FOC variants, highly collectible. Not many of these made. I would venture to say no more than 1,000, 2,000 copies. That is very low. As a comparison, in the heyday, there were 1 million copies of a Spider-Man annual. I believe, in fact, there were a couple million of an annual that Frank Miller did with Punisher and Spider-Man. So compare that to 1,000, 2,000, very low. So highly collectible. Again, supply and demand. I grew up with Star Wars, always have a soft spot for Star Wars, so seeing these variant covers brings back memories. This is part of the War of the Bounty Hunter series that's going on, and it was a bit long, yes, but good. It actually sold, which is what I want, but these variant covers are really what sold. These action figure variants, they look like the old school Kenner figures that I had. This is what we had. We didn't keep them on the card like today. We tore them open and played with them. And I remember getting Dengar and Bosk, and when I first saw these, I thought back to my childhood playing with those Kenner Star Wars figures. But these are fun variants. They do these all the time, the action figure variants. There's nice Valance, which a lot of people don't know. Valance, he came before Boba Fett in the comics. He was in a very early issue by Carmine Infantino, who was the first artist I ever saw as a kid in my first issue, which was Star Wars 13. He came a little bit later on, Valance, and he predated Boba Fett. A lot of people haven't grasped that yet, and that's a hot, first appearance if you could find that issue. But that's an homage to him. My good friend Lando Calrissian and his boy Lobot, who I was always interested in their friendship. He is an android, and what is his connection to Lando? Why are they such good friends? Why does Lando trust him more than anyone? It's interesting. A lot of backstory, and sometimes they go into that in Star Wars. This is an homage to the Droids animated. Again, unless you grew up in the 80s, not a lot of people know what the Droids animated is. Droids and Ewoks animated came after Return of the Jedi, and it was Lucas's attempt, Lucasfilm, to keep the genre going, keep the Star Wars franchise going. Unfortunately, it did not work. Star Wars was done after Return of the Jedi, but there were some good episodes of Droids. Ewoks, not so much, in my opinion. but I like droids. In fact, I missed the droids opening montage because they cut it out of the release, I believe the DVD or the VHS. Down here we have some of the more of the adult black bagged. Again, this has become a thing, across all lines. And you don't know, what their cover's going to be. You have to take it home and cut it open. And this is the last book you'll ever read, which we still have regular covers of. This was a great series, not over yet. Cullen Bond, another tremendous writer, probably in the top 10 writers today. I loved hearing an interview with him, how when he worked for Marvel, they sent him to what was called the Kirby style writing or creator class, I believe, something like that. And he talked about how Marvel wanted people to do Kirby style storytelling. And I wish Marvel still would focus on that. I think they'd be in better shape than they are now. Because I believe he said that was about 10 years ago. Which may tell you why comics are selling it for Marvel a lot less than they did 10 years ago. I digress. Then we have Sabrina, which again, a lot of people haven't read. This is the adult version. Like, these are R-rated in my opinion. Hack did these. Robert Hack, I love Robert Hack's artwork. He does the painted, it looks painted. It probably is painted, his artwork is just gorgeous. His style is what they patterned the Netflix show after. So, if you've never read, if you like the show, try this comic, not the regular Archie version. That's the old Archie Sabrina. If you like the show, you want to try this version. This is the PG-13, right under an R-rating version. Speaking of R-rated, this Gun Honey is definitely R-rated, and this is a big seller. This is actually like a detective, part of Titan Comics line. It is a hard case crime, which Neil Gaiman, Stephen King gets behind. I think Stephen King even writes some stories for some novels. There's novels as part of it, so it's tied in. They're basically like pulp fiction. They're detective stories. That's what this is. But again, it's selling for the variant covers. That's why people are buying them. This is actually a second printing, I believe, or maybe even third printing, this is second printing. But again, it doesn't matter what printing they are. They're all new covers. They're variant covers. Sheena of the Jungle. This is an underappreciated book. Again, with tons of great variants. You have Arthur Sidham, not the creator, but the first artist to do Marvel Zombies. He paints everything, and he's a great artist, a great painter. Michael Linsner, again, great artist. So to get to see them doing variant covers for Dynamite, tremendous. We're going to move on to my favorite Marvel series. Maybe since the time I've been here, we'd have to really think about it. This is a great series. The Defenders by Al Ewing, and Rodriguez does the art. Javier Rodriguez does the art. I'm telling you, this is the perfect book. I wish Marvel would do more books like this. I would be a happy man. If Marvel just did a dozen books like this a month, it would change sales for Marvel. It really would. It would turn things around. And I recommend it to people, and I just use one word: fun. And that's what's missing in so many Marvel books, the fun aspect. It's just not there. But it is here. Al Ewing, he knows his craft. And my favorite, without giving away the story, we would go too in depth. They're going throughout time, back in time. They meet Galactus' mom, and they meet Galactus as a baby. And Silver Surfer really has to ponder, should he kill the baby Galactus and save how many worlds, how many billions of lives? Can he do that? And so there's a lot of while it's fun, there are dark moments, as it should be in comics. We don't need, comics can be diverse in one story. They can be, so many things. If we don't look at different demographics when we're making comics, and instead make comics that are good stories. That's what these Defenders are. And this Peach Mamoka cover, I'm surprised it's still here. And speaking of Peach Mamoka, another great cover she did, this Death of Doctor Strange. I don't know where the story's going other than they're killing Doctor Strange. He's obviously coming back because the movie is coming out. So, we're going to kill Doctor Strange, I guess, and bring him back, to boost sales for a little bit. It doesn't work in my opinion, but it's a good book to get. It's a good read. Darkhold, this has been a good story so far. I love Doom. I love Scarlet Witch. So you get the two together, that's a good story right there. You don't need anybody else. Darkhold goes back to Werewolf by Night in the 70s. So you're talking. I love when they, writers pay homage to the classics. That's what Roy Thomas used to do. He used to pay homage to pulps. He used to pay homage to golden age, to silver age, and that's what's missing today. Writers today, I don't think are reading books from the past. Unlike like Al Ewing and veterans like that, Peter, David, and I'm talking about younger writers. I wish they would bring more older characters back, and put them in popular books, new books. A new book that we've been waiting for the debut of. What's the Furthest Place from Here? It's an Image book. This is a great book. Rosenberg Boss. It's a really good book. Reminds me, it's like Deadly Class. Reminds me, I don't want to say Walking Dead, but it's got aspects of that, and that's what we need right now. We need another Walking Dead. We need something that will revitalize and get people excited. And is this book it? I don't know, but it gets me excited. I equate these books to punk rock, and that's what's definitely missing in comics. Comics used to be punk rock. They were unpredictable. You talk about Robert Crumb, Spain. That was punk rock. That was comics and punk rock. Whether they knew it punk or not, that was punk rock. That was, no holds barred. That's what these are, and I love that about Image, is that, they can take chances and risks and be for adults, just like we were saying before about the trade paperbacks for adults. I sell more of them than anything else. They outsell Marvel trade paperbacks by a huge margin, because only adults are buying comic books. I hate to break it to Marvel. That's the way it is. So don't alienate your adult readers. That's what you have. Your younger readers, they're not there. They're watching the movies. They're playing the video games. Focus on adults right now. That's who's buying the comics. My opinion. So there's so many different, varieties. I mean, just this title alone had, I think, like 4 or 5 different variants. We're waiting on the vinyl deluxe edition, which has the singer from Jawbreaker, one of my favorite punk bands. I still listen to. I was really excited to get because it's going to be an exclusive single that he cut just for this book. And I ordered a lot of copies, and they got allocated. Which is nobody's fault. It's just what's going on, shortages, transportation. So we're not going to get them for a while, but that's okay. When we do, I'll be very excited, and we'll probably have an episode on that. But I highly recommend this as a comic, not just for the record, not just for the hype, not just for the variant covers, but inside. Inside is a great story. A lot of questions are not answered. But if you want to try a number one book, start. This is the book I would start with. Even if you're new to comics, especially if you're younger, I think a lot of younger people would like this. I'm not young anymore, so obviously I'm not one to judge, but Deadly Class I recommend for younger people. It reminds me a lot of Deadly Class, which was a great book. But variant covers can be so much, and like I said, the bestsellers variant covers. Because they incorporate so many different titles, so many different lines, and they're all different art, and they can be bought just for the cover art, and you can never read. That's fine if you don't read them, but they're bagged and boarded, so you can, so they'll be perfect condition if you do want to get them graded. It's the highest condition that you're going to get. We're always running specials. We're always adding more, and we have more. So next time you get a chance, come on into the store and see what kind of variant covers we have, or go on our website, KirbyComicStore.com. We have some exclusive sets that we only sell online that you will not be able to buy here in the store. You can only buy online, and there's some awesome variants with free shipping and handling. Thank you so much, everyone.